Welcome back to the Heart of Time YouTube channel. Since the morning hours, there have been hot developments. Overnight, Israel attacked a number of Hezbollah terrorist targets, struck multiple operational headquarters, and responded to detected attacks on Israel from Lebanese territory. And the Israeli Defense Forces announced today that it struck a Hezbollah observation post in southern Lebanon in response to attacks on the border. In addition, the IDF announced that a group of agents was detected at the anti-tank missile launch site, where the attack was carried out earlier. The site and operators are said to have been hit. Upon your comments, our team reached important information about the hostages. IDF spokesman, Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari, said that during the overnight hostage rescue operation in the Gaza Strip, they were very close to the hostages. During the operation, Israeli soldiers said that they had neutralized a group that played a role in the kidnapping of the hostages. 98. Division continued to advance in Khan Yunis in southern Gaza, which it said was the main stronghold of Hamas, neutralizing dozens of militants and destroying tunnels in the process. The IDF said the 7th Armored Brigade launched an offensive to break Hamas's defensive lines in southern Gaza, hitting dozens of anti-tank missile launch sites and observation posts. The IDF conducted raids in Khan Yunis on what it called Hamas centers of gravity. The soldiers reportedly found weapons and intelligence equipment in homes. In the midst of the clashes, some Hamas fighters surrendered to the soldiers. By subscribing to our channel, liking our films, and clicking the super thanks button below, you can ensure that you won't miss any of the team's prepared videos, which will include exclusive reporting on the war in Israel as well as the newest events. Because of the menacing clandestine plots of the terrorist group Hamas against Israel, the impasse in the Gaza Strip is likely to persist for quite some time. Is there a way to make this conflict shorter? One approach would be to divert attention from the 500-kilometer-long Gaza metro. This is because, although Hamas is responsible for operational terror in the Gaza Strip, the group's evil ideological strategies are attempting to establish a foothold in important settlements in the West Bank and East Jerusalem. The issue is well known to the Israel Defense Forces, who routinely target individuals in both settlements who provide support to terrorist activities through raid operations. Midnight is a common time for these raids to occur. Terrorists in the Gaza Strip experienced a demoralizing moral breakdown as a result of these operations, which caught Hamas supporters unaware. While the battle has been ongoing, how many people have been apprehended by the Israeli Defense Forces in East Jerusalem and the West Bank who were believed to be sympathizers with terrorists? Despite Israeli military officials estimating a recent figure of close to 3,600 as necessary to eradicate Hamas, the terrorist group will likely resurface despite this. This is due to the present state of affairs in the West Bank. To find the answer and assess the success of the IDF's operations that targeted this issue recently, let's zoom out to the West Bank. To begin, the terrorist organization inflamed its sympathizer groups and members of its so-called political bureau in the West Bank, following the Israeli Defense Forces' ground offensive in southern Gaza, from the direction of Saleh Hadin, north of Khan Yunis. The goal is to shift focus elsewhere. A perfect setting for this tactic would be the West Bank. There are more than 3 million people living in the Palestinian territories of Judea and Samaria, which are located west of the Jordan River and the Dead Sea. Western countries commonly refer to this area as the West Bank today. Hamas has more than enough people living here to cause anarchy. The West Bank, a political term rather than a physical one, encompasses a region of about 5879 kilometers that has been a hub of terrorist organizations. The Jordan River, which divides Israel and Jordan, and the western coasts of the Dead Sea, are the sole physical boundaries of the area. In the West Bank, a territory home to millions of people, the ideology of terrorism is presently spreading at an alarming rate. Israel does not wish to have a fertile field for terrorists on its borders, and the majority of its residents support Hamas, or Islamic Jihad. Every nation has this inherent right. For that reason, Israel launched a pivotal operation in the West Bank. In the wake of the truce, Israeli forces launched the Dawn Operation and simultaneously invaded settlements in the West Bank and eastern Jerusalem. The IDF's unexpected arrest operations took Hamas sympathizers unaware. Recent Israeli military incursions in the West Bank resulted in the arrest of 40 individuals, including sympathizers with the Hamas terrorist group. The Israeli Defense Forces apprehended the majority of the detainees in Jenin and Bethlehem, according to their report. The Israeli Defense Forces apprehended 10 members of Hamas based in the Gaza Strip. One of them is believed to have been a senior member of the Palestinian terrorist organization Hamas. Presumably, he was one of the alleged Hamas commanders. Israeli intelligence agencies would probe the detained Hamas members to extract crucial details. Amidst this, raid operations in East Jerusalem by IDF's Dawn persisted at a rapid pace. Astonishingly, the IDF advanced into eastern Jerusalem concurrently with the West Bank, shocking those who sympathize with terrorism. An escalation of tensions occurred when an individual supporting Hamas in the terror camp of Kalandia, close to East Jerusalem, refused to surrender to Israeli authorities and fought back. The terrorist from Hamas refused to surrender. Therefore, Israeli forces neutralized him. IDF soldiers near this terror camp also neutralized another Hamas adherent. IDF soldiers neutralized both terrorists during this lengthy operation. Since the beginning of the conflict, Israeli forces have eliminated 260 Hamas sympathizers, including these two terrorists. Because of these activities, the Israeli Defense Forces have significantly impeded Hamas's efforts to spread its terrorist ideology throughout the eastern district of Jerusalem and the West Bank. This is because Hamas is considered to be a terrorist organization. As they have done in Gaza, terrorist organizations like Islamic Jihad and Hamas are aiming to sow unrest in these two regions like they have done in Gaza. The Israeli Defense Forces recently intervened and brought the situation in the West Bank and East Jerusalem under control. Israel always incurs significant costs as a result of its efforts to eliminate terrorist organizations and capture those who sympathize with them. They just released an announcement stating that the Jenin refugee camp was the location of one of the large-scale raids. The Israel Defense Forces, IDF, the Shin Bet, Israel's internal security agency, and the Israel Border Police all made the announcement. As the operation progressed, Israeli soldiers responded to grenades thrown by terrorist forces with gunfire. A member of the Israel Defense Forces sustained a minor injury during the operation in the West Bank and was sent to a hospital for medical care. Troops sustained damage from explosives and engaged in combat with terrorists during the mission. The Israeli security forces issued a joint statement announcing that they had demolished explosives laboratories and underground wells, arrested 16 persons suspected of providing support to terrorists, and seized various military vehicles. Israeli Defense Forces, EDF troops, apprehended 3 men on suspicion that they were traitors and held critical positions inside Hamas. The forces detained these individuals. The forces also shut down a printing shop that had been supplying the terrorist organization, directly impacting their operations. In the face of all of this, what is it that gives Hamas the determination to continue fighting? Is it possible for the terrorist organization Islamic Jihad or others who sympathize with it to provide Hamas with additional support in this matter? An irregular terrorist militant force directed at Israel consists of between 30,000 and 40,000 people. Even with over 50,000 terrorists, they still make up a small fraction compared to the 360,000 Israeli soldiers stationed in the Gaza Strip. This is especially true in view of the fact that Islamic Jihad is supporting Hamas. Both sides' utilization of arsenals and other military weapons greatly diminishes the likelihood of Hamas emerging victorious. Anxieties regarding the continuation of the war